Hello everybody, Jennifer Ferguson here, Artistic Painting Studio. And okay, I finished priming the little cabinet, okay, the little pine cabinet that I have for an upcoming project, and decided, okay, I really want to proof out the stencil design. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and do this with you guys and just show you what I'm going to do here. And not only am I going to proof this out, this is the first time I've actually got to like paint out this whole pattern, but I need to name this stencil too. So I'm going to hopefully find somebody that comes up with a great name for this design. And I'm going to hold it up here. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see this yet. But it is a pretty large pattern, okay? And actually, I need to measure this for somebody. And I keep forgetting to do that. But it was so large that I actually like to do almost all my proofs on my styrene boards. And it was too big for my styrene boards. So my styrene boards are 18 by 24. So this pattern is close to about 19 inches wide, and it's about the same. So it's about 19 by 19 as far as the design from corner to corner. Oh, awesome, Sandra. I hope you do order a roller sometime soon. I have to fair warn you though, they are addicting, so once you order one and start playing with them, you're going to want another one and another one and another one. So I'm just going to kind of tell you up front, okay? They're way too much fun. So I need you guys' help with a name for the stencil. And then I'm just going to share with you this palette that I got going here. And I'm going to put the camera down a little bit so you guys can see this. Okay, so all of these colors are by Deco Art, and Deco Art is one of my favorite colors or favorite products to work with. I've got a couple of different products from them. So my silver is called their Extreme Sheen Metallic Paint, okay? And of course I did not switch the camera, so everything is backwards. I've got this beautiful blue, which is an ultramarine blue, and it's their premium acrylics. And then the other two colors I have is a zinc, which is just their regular Americanas, and one of my favorite greens, which is Hauser Light, okay? So I was just kind of having fun with my palette. Instead of just, you know, doing it all just in grays, I thought I'd kind of incorporate a little blue and a little green. So I'm going to put my camera all the way down here so you can see my stencil, okay? And yes, Sandra, like I said, I fair warned you up front. You start getting into the rollers, you're going to find that you're going to want one after another, okay? But it's kind of like stencils too. Stencils are addicting. I think I'm one who is definitely has an incredible collection, and at some point in time I'm probably going to need to find a place to donate some stuff to. I keep looking around my studio more and more, and I'm thinking, okay, I need to find a nonprofit organization or some place where I can donate some craft supplies, art supplies. I have so much stuff here after almost 30 years in business, and I mean, none of it's that old, okay, that I want to donate, but I have paints I'm never going to use. I've got brushes. I mean, I've got so much stuff. I just got to find some great place to donate to. So if anybody is in the Huntington Beach area and they know of any place that would be great to donate to, I would love to hear. A lot of this stuff starts getting so heavy, so I don't think anybody's going to want to pay for the shipping. Okay, so let's just get going here. Okay, this blue is just so beautiful. I just had to try this out. And just so you guys know what I'm doing, I always do a dry brush technique when I'm stenciling. And I don't know if you guys can see, but there's a liquid, like a clear liquid kind of moving around the palette. And what that is Deco Art's called Brush and Blend Extender. And it helps to keep the paint wet a little bit longer so that you can get some blending and shading going, and it's not just going to dry on you so fast that the paint's not going to move. So I'm just going to kind of play with color here. And I mean, I'm cracking up, you guys. I'm doing this proof on packing paper, okay? It was the only thing that I had big enough for to actually be able to stencil the design out on, because like I said, it's 19 inches wide and my sample boards are only 18 inches wide. So instead of losing some of the pattern, I thought, okay, well, we'll just see how some packing paper works here on proofing this out. So when I pick up the color on the palette over here, I also will pick up just a tiny bit of that extender just to kind of move it into the color and help the paint stay wet a little bit longer. It makes it a little bit more translucent. And then you guys can see that I'm really working hard at keeping a dry brush, okay? Because a dry brush is going to keep you in control of the paint, okay? And that is really the only secret to stenciling and keeping, okay, I got a hump in the table here. I need to move this over a little bit. To keeping you from bleeding underneath your stencil. So it's not a big trick. It's just really keeping your brush as dry as possible. And I know it's a hard concept for a lot of people to grasp, because you think, if I put all that paint on and then I go take all that paint back off, how can there be anything left to actually paint with, okay? But it's plenty, okay? It's plenty of paint. You don't need much to stencil with. And it's a control factor, so if you're in a really good dry brush technique, okay, and you've got your brush dry enough, you're going to be able to control where the color is going and how dark and deep you're making, allowing the color to get. So it allows you to control the whole thing here. It looks like we got a few more people that are starting to come in and watch. And okay, I know out here in California that we're close to, I think it's like around 7 o'clock, okay? So for some of you that are on the other coast, it's getting a little late. So thanks for joining me. But you guys, okay, help me here. This beautiful design needs a name, okay? And I would love any input that you guys have. So I'm just kind of bouncing around this design and just kind of doing a hit and miss, bringing this gorgeous ultramarine blue in. And gosh, that's a pretty color. So much fun. I love color. I used to do a lot of painting in, I want to say, a Mary Engelbreit style. And I always loved painting her kind of technique and style because it was just so vibrant with color. Everybody's palette has gotten so gray here, just doesn't seem like everybody uses a whole lot of color anymore. Okay, well, I'm going to take a second and read a few of these. Yeah, East Coast, you guys. Linda, it's 10 o'clock. You must be up having fun on a Friday night. Ooh, La Madeleine. Okay, I like that, Sandra. Okay, we've got one choice here for a name. So what else is everybody doing on their Friday evening other than watching me stencil? Okay, and you guys, this is a technique, so don't feel like I'm wasting any paint. I did not put more than like a nickel size little puddle of paint to begin with. I'm picking up such a little amount to begin with that you know, I'm just not using much. I'm not offloading much, but it's this technique that keeps you guys from bleeding underneath your stencil. Now, I was in another group the other day, and there was a conversation about bleeding underneath the stencil. Oh, you're at work in the ER? Well, bless your heart. I hope your shift isn't too long, and I'm glad I'm able to entertain you for a little while. Hopefully your ER is quiet tonight and you guys are not having to work too hard, because that means there's nobody injured, okay? But in this other group, they were starting to talk about why they were bleeding underneath their stencil, and they were saying, you know, spray adhesive was a good way to prevent it from bleeding, or, you know, just painting the whole thing like the base coat color first, and then you wouldn't have to worry about anything bleeding underneath. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just wish I'd had time at the moment to get in there and just really answer their questions and talk to them about, you know, really, it's just having a dry brush. I mean, it has nothing to do with painting. You know, I would, if I had to paint this whole thing a solid color first and then come back over and stencil it, I would never do any stenciling, okay? That's just way, way too much work. Oh, Sandra, sounds like you've got, okay, 12 hours, but quiet right now. Wow, those are long shifts. My other half is a sergeant for one of the police forces out here in LA, and he works 10-hour shifts, and I'm telling you, I think those are even too long. Tonight, I think he's actually polling by the time he's done. Oh gosh, I don't know. I think he went to work at 6 o'clock this morning. 5:30, 6 o'clock, and he will not be home until, he said 12 or 1 a.m. this morning. They have a football season at all of our high schools, and they have all of their art officers and I think sergeants out at the games. So it is a busy, busy night, and going to be a late night for him. And I can't do the math at the moment, but that is a really, really long day. Oh, I see that Jennifer's on here. How are you doing, Jennifer? It's good to see you. Yes, I'm painting out a new stencil design, and I'm just doing a dry brush technique. So I was started to talk about how this other group was talking about why people were bleeding underneath their stencils, and giving them some advice on how to not bleed underneath their stencil. So I think I'm going to share this video, if I'm allowed to, in that group, so they can watch the technique that you can definitely use and not have any bleed unders at all. Now this design has a lot of loose elements, okay? So I'm just kind of, hopefully you guys can see that. The design comes down here, and there's just these two little points that can easily move around. So I'm going to say spray adhesive would actually be a good thing to use with a design like this. Not to keep you from bleeding underneath, but to keep all the elements in place so they're not moving. And as you can see, I've got my finger, okay, my finger's turning blue, or my nail is. And that'll just, you know, it'll keep everything in place for you, so you don't have to worry about an element moving and getting color underneath it. Not because you bled underneath it, but because the element moved, okay? Okay, I want to take a second. I want to read again. Sandra, I design my own stencils. I don't cut my own stencils, okay? So once something is designed, it goes into my different laser companies that I work with. They digitize them and then send me the design, okay? So normally, before I order production of it, I proofed it out, but I mean, I was so in love with this, and I knew it was going to be gorgeous, that I didn't even bother to have them send me a proof. I just said, go ahead and cut my order, okay? So I'm going to lift my stencil up, okay? Oh, by the way, you guys, can you see? I have two pieces of tape at the top, okay? That's holding it in position. And I always love to lift my stencil up and peek underneath, because that's when you can see. Now, you guys, you realize when I've been stenciling, and I hope you guys can see this really good, I've only been working on the outside edge, trying to just define the objects, where I really haven't put much color into the whole opening, but you know, almost the whole pattern is already stenciled. Oh, okay, so Jennifer, you missed the very first part of this. These are all just deco art acrylics, okay? There's a couple of their different products, okay, but they're all just Deco Art Americana acrylics. This is like their premium acrylic. This is one of their newer products that is called Extreme Sheen Metallic, and then just the other colors are just Americanas. And I'm proofing on packing paper, you guys. Okay, so I didn't want to use anything that would be too wet, because I mean, this is a piece of packing paper. I'm not using a normal styrene board to proof on, because the stencil was too big for that surface. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move into another color and start playing around with putting a little bit more color into this whole pattern. And keep up with your guys' questions if you have any, because I love to be able to help you guys and answer anything. But so I'm hoping this other group will allow me to share this video, and hopefully that I will be able to help some people learn how to stencil with a traditional technique of dry brush, so that they don't have bleed unders, because bleed unders are not attractive, okay, in the art of stenciling. What I love about dry brush is the fact that you get such incredible, okay, I want you guys to see this, okay. Let's see, okay, I'm sorry you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm bringing my camera down, okay, and hopefully you guys can see maybe even a little bit better, but there's absolutely no jagged edges on these outside edges. They're very, very defined and very crisp, and it's because of doing that dry brush technique. Ooh, and I love green and blue together. Yes, Sandra, the stencil is for sale. It's only $35. It is cut on, I want to say this is between a 10 to 12 mil on the Mylar, so it's very, very durable. Like I said, there's a lot of elements that are really thin on here, so spray adhesive would be advisable, especially if you're going to use this with any kind of a plaster technique. If you're going to do a raised stencil motif, then definitely spray the crud out of the back of this with spray adhesive, and you should be fine. But stenciling is one thing that, okay, I think I could do this almost blindfold. I've been stenciling for over 30 years, okay? And definitely it was the reason and how I got into the entire decorative arts, was for my love of stenciling, and fell in love with the technique once I discovered it, and my whole life changed at that point, because I was in the corporate world at that point of my life, and changed everything. So you never know what you're going to be. Sometimes when you grow up, you tend to sometimes shift. And I've kind of always encouraged my kids to not worry about so much of, you know, follow your dreams, chase them, and, you know, sometimes your direction might end up changing. Mine sure did, because I went from insurance to owning my own studio and teaching pretty much everybody in the community that I lived in at that time how to stencil. So the entire area of Fresno and Clovis, California, I swear I taught everybody. Which was fun. Lots of fun memories. But stenciling can be so relaxing and so enjoyable, and you can mix colors and blend, and you can do emboss stenciling. I mean, there's just so many different techniques that you can do, and it's so fun to incorporate some pattern and design. Now you guys notice I'm constantly loading and offloading my brush, because I'm trying to pick up as little as possible, stay into a dry brush technique, so I'm not using much. Okay, I'm going to come back up here for a second, because I want to, I want to read some of these comments. I really should bring my laptop back here. Okay, so Sally, the stencil is 19 by 19, width and height, on about a 10 mil, 12 mil Mylar. Oh, thank you, Susan. It is gorgeous. And then, oh, yes, we need to name it, okay? We need to name it because that way I can get it loaded on the website. Oh, call it Sherry. I like that. Yeah, I've named a few stencils after family members, okay? So if you ever look at my collection, you're going to definitely know that there's a lot of names that are related to me. But I think there's only, well, now 2 suggestions for names on here, okay? I think we need to come up with some more names, you guys. And let's get creative. Jennifer, what do you have for me out there? Come on, girl. I know you've got some creativity in you. Help me with this name. So I want to introduce Jennifer that I'm talking to. Jennifer Murray is one of my retailers, and she is in Nashville, and I think she also has another location in Franklin area, Tennessee. I could be wrong, but correct me if I am. So the best brush to use with the Art of Stenciling is just a stencil brush, okay? So this is my own brand that I carry. So this has my name on it, the Stencil Garden. Okay, so I have 2 names, okay? When I originally first started designing stencils, I was under the name of the Stencil Garden, so my entire stencil line is under that name. My studio is Artistic Painting Studio. So I don't want to confuse you guys, but yes, we have ran 2 different names here for years. But these brushes, you guys, are the best brushes you can get, and you don't want to get a cheap stencil brush because you're just going to end up losing the bristles, and you need a good brush, okay? They're not that expensive. You can go onto my website, and both of my websites are linked together, so if you go looking for stencils, even if you're on Artistic Painting Studio, it's going to take you over to the Stencil Garden website, okay? Because all the stenciling supplies are on one site. But you'll find the brushes there. So you can either go to artisticpaintingstudio.com or you can go directly to the stenciledgarden.com and find brushes and find stencils. You're not going to find this stencil yet, okay? So this one here, you're either going to have to call in your order or wait till it gets loaded onto the website. And I'll probably be using this proof that I'm doing because I'm going to paint this thing completely out, because that way my webmaster will have a picture to load. Because that's part of the whole process. If I don't have a picture to load, we can't even get it onto the website because there's nothing to show you guys. So yes, I'm just having fun. Okay, I'm going to peek again because, you know, when the stencil is laying down and on the surface, sometimes it's really hard to see the whole pattern and how much you've got the color blending and how the colors are blending together. But oh my gosh, this is just gorgeous. And you guys can see that when you are doing dry brush, it's immediately dry, okay? Okay, so I want to hit the button right now. Okay, Sally, okay, is that the buy button? You want to buy now? Okay, I love it. Yes, I would like something that would be like a French name, okay? Because I think this just has that kind of character to it. Okay, I'm trying to make sure I can get this where you guys can see what I'm doing here well. And like I said, I probably should have brought my laptop back here so I can see your guys' comments better than having to keep moving my camera and look across the table because I can't see that well anymore, okay? The older I get, the worse my eyes are getting. So help me with the names, you guys. And like I said, if you're in a hurry and you want to buy this, you guys just call the studio. We'll be able to put your order together and get one of these out for you. We won't make you wait if you are in that much of love of it like I am and want your own copy ASAP, okay? Because I have to say that there are times that my webmaster is so busy with other projects and I have been just bombarding her lately that stuff like this doesn't always get put up on the site as quickly as I would like. So again, I think you guys could probably see my fingers are right where I'm working because I did not use spray adhesive on the back of the stencil. Kind of was afraid to use it because I'm just on packing paper. I was afraid that it would kind of get stuck because some of the spray adhesives can be pretty strong, okay? So I didn't want to mess up my proof by using it. So I'm just holding things down with my fingers. Okay, I need to put a little bit more extender out here. And as I've been painting, you guys have been writing up here. Oh, Jennifer, yeah, I'd go for an Italian name. What about something like Moroccan or Marrakesh? Okay, I already have rollers that are called Baroque and Heirloom, okay? And we have a roller called Moroccan, so I want to stay maybe away from a few of those names just because of confusion. Okay, I keep hitting the wrong button here. Let's see, was there anything else? Yes, I love the name Baroque, but I already have a roller named Baroque, so maybe if we add something to the word Baroque, we could do that. But I don't want to just have it called Baroque because I'm afraid I'll confuse people around here at the studio if we have a Baroque roller and a Baroque stencil, okay? We've got to keep things a little bit separate. So what does everybody think of my color choice here of working with this beautiful green and blue? This is kind of fun. Oh! Okay, so it never looks all that gorgeous until you pull it up, and I hope you guys can see this really well, okay? I'm going to try to hit this with a little bit of silver on the tips, and you know, I haven't worked hard at putting a lot of color into the openings because I've always felt that instead of trying to fill in one of the elements, I try to shade around the outside edges, okay? Because the color comes into the middle of it, and you can use like your background color as your highlight because that's kind of like your lightest color that you're working with. And that just kind of gives a little bit more dimension and depth because you never want to just fill in the elements because then that just looks heavy and dark and doesn't have any dimension. Okay, so we're going to try some of the silver and just see if the silver can give us some pop too. Okay, my palette's getting really full here. We'll see if DecoArt made an extreme, what they call this, extreme sheen, okay? So let's see how strong the metallic is. Okay, let's just do a little hit in this. Not sure it's gonna do much. There's a little pop of a little, oh, you can see the shimmer. I don't know if you guys can see that well on the camera, but there is just a little bit of a shimmer. If I move that, can you guys see the shimmer on those two little areas that I did? I think you can, okay? So, okay, that will be fun to add a little bit. I don't think it's gonna add much color, but it's definitely gonna add some shimmer. So yeah, I'm just hitting and missing, not trying to be symmetrical or do a whole lot with the balance of the color, just kind of hitting and missing so that there's a little bit of color everywhere. It's kind of the way I've always stenciled, okay? Especially when I'm using multiple colors. I think the less you think about it, the prettier it is when you lift the stencil up. I always say if it kind of looks kind of funky when everything is, you know, in position like this. Oh, I like Monet, okay? Let's see, Becky, like that choice. We might do a Monet. That's got a little bit, I think, works for this design. So, like I said, this one's not going to give a lot of color in general. I think it's just going to give a little shimmer when the light reflects. So I might go back and pop out. Okay, so I'm starting to get a little bit of shimmer, And again, I think if I lift this up, you guys can see the paint shimmer a little bit. But I think I might go back and just pop the blue a little bit stronger just for photography, okay? Because if we're going to shoot this as a proof, sometimes I like to have the colors a little bit more vibrant than I normally would do. And I might even, yeah, okay, we're getting a dirty palette here, so a little bit of my gray is mixing into my blue anyway, okay? And I think I'm just going to want to pop a few of the edges just to give them a little bit, okay, almost still too wet. Just to pop the design a little bit more. So how many of you guys are interested in this pattern? It is gorgeous. So fun to have some new designs that have come in and have the time to actually create some new patterns, because I'm telling you, it's not always the easiest to find time to do all the things that I would love to do. Oh, Sandra, okay. Packing paper, okay? This is I'm on paper here. That is what we pack our packages with, okay? This is not anything I would normally proof out a stencil on, but like I said, my sample boards weren't big enough, because my sample boards are only 18 by 24, and this design is almost 19 by 19, which was too big for my styrene boards, and I didn't want to lose any of the pattern. I figured if I was going to take the time to proof this out, this most likely is going to be the piece that we are going to photograph for the website, because I ain't got no time to do this again, okay? I don't know about you guys, but time is precious. And to find the time to proof this out once again is not going to happen, most likely. So we are definitely going to go for this and make it as beautiful and as stunning as I can with my blue and green and a little bit of silver shimmer going on. And I am just trying to pop some of the edges so that when I lift the stencil up, that the design elements are more defined, okay? So the one thing with the Art of Stenciling, you guys, is you can always add and always add and always add. You just can't take back, okay? So when I've taught the Art of Stenciling for years, you know, I've always said start off light. You can build your color, you can build your value, you can, you know, pop the color as you go. But if you do it slowly, then you can always decide where you want to stop. If you do it really quick and go bold real fast, you can't always go back the other way, not unless you put a white or something over the top of it, okay? So, like I said, I'm just starting to pop some of the detail where I'm basically just putting a stronger outline on the pattern by just making the blue a little bit more vibrant here. Oops. Okay, I gotta get my fingers in here. The stencil wants to move. So remember, you're going to want to use some spray adhesive. One of my favorite spray adhesives on the market, it's by Stencil Ease, and Aleene's is the other one. Oh gosh, I love it, you guys. You're coming up with more and more names for me. I appreciate it. It's so much fun. If you guys know, I've allowed my customers to even name all the last sets of rollers that I have ordered, and that has been so much fun because you guys can come up with some great names, okay? Okay, so a little bit more green here, and I think, oops, okay. Tell Jennifer, remember, get her fingers in here so things aren't moving. And I think we're just about done with this. Oh, I could sit here and do this for hours, you guys. I get lost in this art form. I can get lost in here forever. I've always said I thought it was just, I don't want to offend anybody, like a brainless activity for me. I can just get in there and paint and create with the stencil, and I don't have to think, okay? it's just an easy thing to do, just putting color through the openings. Okay, so let's take a look. Yes, I think I really, really like that, and I definitely love the color even popped more. So hopefully you guys can see that really, really well, but oh, that is so much fun. Okay, so I'm definitely going to pick a winning name here, okay? And you guys, yes, all I'm brushing off is if there was any of the bristles that maybe had flaked off of the brush, or if there was a little dry piece of paint that got underneath. But absolutely not a single bleed under, you guys, and it's just because of controlling your paint. So when you see my towel here, my paper towel, and I've wiped off my brush really well, that means I'm at a dry brush, okay? Only way that you can accomplish that. And you're just able to control how much color you're putting in the openings and be able to do your shading and create your depth. So, okay, this is lovely. Absolutely lovely, guys. Thank you for joining me again and playing around with this and helping me come up with a name. So I think between all the different names that you guys have put on here, I can definitely come up with something that will work. And I'm going to get this photographed and emailed to my webmaster so that hopefully we'll get it onto the website quickly. But in the meantime, if you guys are kind of like me, you know, when you see something you want it, you can always call and place an order online, or place an order with me, okay, before it gets online. So I hope you guys enjoy your Friday night. And I think this is the last thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to call it a night and go home and hang out with who's ever there. I think I at least have maybe one son at home, okay? And he probably, oh, hopefully he already ate, but if he hasn't, I'll go feed him. So hope you guys have a wonderful night. Bless you all.